Now you're singing
with a swing. Yeah, I love Louis Prima. I love Rafi.
Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you coming.
Oh yeah.
We've been in talks about recording for like what feels like months. And
yes.
We've been in Hawaii, I'm here, I'm there, busy, let me make that one day, Tuesday and Wednesday.
That's true, this is like the third, yeah.
Gratefully, eventually you did come in, and we went through like 5 sessions. You just murdered that.
That was a lot of fun.
One after the other, and your Cory Wong impersonation is just absolutely
big compliment. Big Cory Wong fan, big Wolfpack fan.
So we just recorded a bunch of songs that are not coming out in the Papertown album, which comes out July 8th, by the way. But for another project, which I'm not ready to talk about yet. But outside of this, you have your own. You were telling me that you're working on an EP.
I am working on an EP.
Tell me a bit about that.
Yeah, I have one out already that I had 2 that I produced with the producer in Jerusalem, and I had 2 out of the 5 tracks, and 3 that I self-produced at home, which is very humiliating to admit because self-produced at home at the time meant I was like my Blue Yeti microphone in my basement at home with no concept of recording.
Not the Blue Yeti.
Yeah, I had no recording experience, complete amateur. It was one of those they say when you're learning a new skill, there's the first phase is you don't know, and then you know you don't know. I was
that
in phase
Dunning-Kruger graph. I love.
Yeah, so I was really in phase 1, and it's very embarrassing to listen back to. But there's some good stuff. There's some decent stuff on there. So that one's called some nice songs, and it was just kind of something.
Wait, the title of the
one that's already out. It's on
nice
everywhere you listen to music. It's called Some Nice Songs. But we're working on an EP. I just finished a 3rd session, doing auxiliary guitar and vocal parts for 2 tracks. He's going to produce them out in Montana for 2 months, and then he's coming back. So kind of a little more of an ambitious effort, I would say, but still intimate.
No, I get that. I'm excited to hear it. And would you say that, earlier when we were doing our tracking, you were doing some awesome funk. Your Cory Wong impersonation is just on point. Yeah. And I hate to pull the as a producer.
For sure.
But as a producer, I've tracked a lot of guitarists, and your timing, you're so polished, the way you start and stop and everything is just so incredibly on point.
Timing's a big thing.
So is this project that you're working on, your EP, you said it was. Mm-hmm. How many... Is that something that's more funky, or is that something different?
No, it's definitely something different. I always say that I'm kind of 2 people as an artist. I'm there's a musician and the songwriter.
There's a word for that. It's called dissociative personality disorder.
Yeah, that's, by the way, you're a little too close to home. No, not actually, but a little actually. Just like constant identity crisis.
That's funny. And we're just no, that's not a thing, but it is a thing.
Yeah,
that's
yeah. Stop. No, but I have what was I gonna say? Don't be so bad. No, I have what was I gonna say? No, but I do. I feel I do feel very disconnected. Having sort of 2 artistic identities. Right now, me and you talk. That's the musician side of me talking, right? Just kind of nerding out about music history and funk and jazz and sort of the. We were speaking before. You used the word musicality to describe the way I was soloing, and that's not always the way I think. But it's very the musician in me tries to think musically, right? And then the songwriter in me, I think, tries to run away from that. Tries very much to kind of write like a child, sort of before I knew theory. Trying to kind of get back to that, just sort of much more writing from a place of much more.
I relate to that.
Purity.
Why?
I use theory a lot in my writing. It's not that I'm avoiding it, but I try to write with a kind of naivete, I think.
Are you chasing the innocence that comes with that?
Yeah, exactly, and the creativity that comes. I think of for examples, my heroes in songwriting are very different than the musical ones. Very impressionist is a big thing I like. I like feelings and almost kind of feeling cinematic in songwriting, which is very different than the funk stuff.
I relate to the sentiment of writing with the word you used was naivete, but from a very different, I guess, reason. For me, I feel. I just even though I like music that has the clever modulations and the music theory.
Sure.
What's catchy is our A minor FCG friends. I'm
For sure.
wrong.
Yeah.
A minor FCG is a progression that is banned from this studio.
Yeah, dude.
People come in, it's something I say. It's banned from this studio because that just means I accept that I will not be creative in exchange for potential popularity. I will not say that.
Well, there's something. There's also something to. First of all, I'm just kind of sick of hearing it. It's for me. I'm just sort of bummed all the day. It's just immediately. It's just so dull to me now.
But you know what they're doing now, by the way? They're exchanging that last G into an E minor. So
yeah,
it's really, A minor F C.
Really, the industry is radically changing, but before our eyes. But I will say, if you can. like if you find a way to make what. Like don't be too good for anything, right? Like if there's but that at the same time like don't sell out. Like if you're gonna do it with dignity, and if you do it with dignity, you're gonna find a way to make it beautiful. And that's even harder in a way to make something that everyone's heard so many times sound unique.
I've accidentally written a song that was in minor FCG.
Exactly. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah.
And just like with the voicings and the extensions, like the root of it is in minor FCG, but it's got so much added to it that
something I think about a lot is kind of the balance between tradition and originality in songwriting. Is that because everyone like it's kind of this like byword I feel like all the time, like, oh, like I don't want anything. I don't want to write anything that it's already been written, and I want everyone's like wants to be original and an artist, and it's absurd because like there's obviously a line after which we all know we're all within tradition. Like you're still playing at the very very basis of it. It's always much more than this.
No one is completely original, like, and if you were, it would probably sound like garbage.
Yeah, like at the very very basis, like at the root of it, like at the most minimal level, like everyone's writing chords. Like a G chord is still GBD, and you're always gonna, you know what I mean? Like you're still playing the chord. That like there's still every progression's been played before. You know what I mean? And there's like not only is there's nothing wrong with that, like there's something beautiful about opting in. That's why I like folk music a lot. Like you're joining a tradition and you're making a statement that like, you know, I'm gonna take these chords and I'm gonna kind of, or these lyrical themes or whatever, and spin it. And it's not. I don't think it's about trying to necessarily. I mean, for some people, like if you're like an experimental, you know, whatever, then like power to you. But I think there's something to be said for like interpreting tradition.
Lyrically, the challenge I'm having is not. I can express myself happily in a song, but what I'm struggling with a lot is deciding what I want to say. And it's funny that you mentioned the city before. Yeah. That stressed you out. Yeah. Because when I am lacking inspiration,
New York City's a beast.
I get out of the studio, I get to the train, and I go to the city, and I walk around town, and I just.
Well, you're from here. I imagine it's probably. I mean, tell me if I'm wrong, right? It probably like provides you with a lot of energy, right? And there's just like it's a very frenetic place, right? And there's like a lot of energy in it, and it's probably like I imagine that gives you a lot of inspiration.
You're saying that like when you show up at Times Square, what you think is more of like let's get down to business versus like over the hill.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's hard to kind of get, you know what I mean? And it's definitely changed the way I write in that sense. Like I'm still writing a lot of kind of folk-ish music centered on acoustic.
Love, by the way.
Yeah, thank you.
I love.
Thanks.
I love.
But also the acoustic stuff has also gotten much more frenetic and energetic.
Sorry, what was the word? I grew up in Yoruba.
Frenetic, like just all over the place, and like kind of chaotic, and like energetic and spiritual. I think is something that I try to make, but not in like a Zen sitting and meditating way, in a much more like crazy screaming.
I was about to
like pagan kind of way. You know what I mean? And that's I think came from New York. Like writing this kind of.
I would say it's interesting you're doing the word spiritual over there. For me, the way how I started songwriting, this is like embarrassing to even say now, but I have albums where my approach to songwriting was like phonetic pleasure.
No, that you should not be embarrassed to say that at all. Seriously, some of the wordplay is like a high art as far as I'm concerned. I really believe that.
But I
still
really
do that all the time.
Nothing.
Yeah, I don't, dude. There are Dylan songs where he just for 7 minutes he's just saying nonsense that sounds beautiful.
Exactly.
It's not aesthetics. We're artists, man. Like aesthetic. Yeah, aesthetics is what we do. Like the way something feels is what. Yeah, language is also. Yeah, I mean I could rant about that for an hour, man. Like I think wordplay is like such a form of art. I really believe that. And it's just you're sculpting. Like no one says to like I don't know. Like no one looks at the Mona Lisa and they're like, but what does it mean?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like it's beautiful. It like and
appreciate it.
Yeah, and like words are like that. You know what I mean? Like words make you feel things. I always say like I think high school teachers. I think a lot of times it's not about meaning. It's about feeling. And I think that's a lot of what art is. And like high school teachers.
Thank you for saying that.
Yeah, I think like one thing that high school teachers always piss me off that they're so bad at teaching poetry. Because I feel like every high school teacher wants to know.
What does it mean?
Yeah, like you finish it and like okay, kids, like what do you think it means?
Instead of how
poem,
do you feel?
Right? Exactly. You should finish a poem and say, how does that poem make you feel? And you might have no idea what it means, but it switches gears when you ask that question.
Yes.
You're like, I don't know what the hell this poem is saying, but I know it feels afraid or lonely or wistful or like pathetic or you know what I mean or like like it makes you feel something and like the words the way they sound is what does that, right? Not what they mean. So I think there's something to be said for like
that a lot.
Your subconscious speaks through you, right? Like you know, I'm sure also you know as an artist, right? Like kind of you're talking about flow state, right? Like you don't like your writing knows you way better than your brain does. You know what I'm saying? Like you don't always know what it is you're trying to say.
Absolutely. I do that when I just, I produce a track and then I just hit record and I show up at the microphone.
Right. exactly.
And I say things and then I show it to my friends and they're like, it just sounds unfinished. Yeah. And I'm like, but listen.
Yeah, right. You know? Yeah, and sometimes it is, right? Like it is unfinished, and that's okay because like you've started to figure out what you're trying. You know what I mean? Like you've planted the seed.
Yeah.
And I think it's like, and I really see also wordplay as like a great tool to. It's kind of like a way to cheat into your subconscious.
Oh, that's genius.
You know what I mean? Like you pick a word out of your brain, like your total conscious logical brain, like you just pick the word like stairs and then you're just like hairs. And like hairs is not an emotional word at all. So if you had to write a line that like rhymes stairs with hairs, it'd probably end up really interesting. Do you know what I'm saying? Like you're not trying to be like, what am I feeling? Like you sort of forced yourself to just spew words, and what's gonna come out is often, sometimes it sucks, and sometimes you really learn something about yourself, and it's really, and you end up with like a really beautiful line, right? It's a completely different emotion.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's, and you might feel that
I
emotion,
like
you might chase
exercise.
that, you know? Yeah.
I like this exercise.
Big believer in just word association and wordplay as a way to kind of go spelunking in your soul.
Spelunking. I grew up in yeshiva.
Spelunking? It's like cave diving. Cave. That's like a weird word. I don't think anyone knows that word. Spelunking's like when you like go tour in a cave.
Love that.
Like just like dive deep down into a cave.
Splunking.
Spelunking.
You heard it here first. Okay, well, on that merry note, my name is Rafi Reedus. You are Gavi Kutlerof. Where can people find you? You mentioned you have that song out, EP's coming.
Yeah, I got an EP out right now from like a year and a half ago, and more coming soon, sometime in the next 6 to 8 months, soon-ish. But I'm playing shows around New York, and I'm on Instagram.
You have a show coming up?
Yeah, I got a show coming up Tuesday night, July 12th, 7 o'clock at Rockwood, Stage 3, Pleasant Peasant. That's also my Instagram, Pleasant Peasant Music. Some underscores in there, you'll figure it out.
That's Pleasant Peasant.
Yeah, Some Nice Songs is the EP, and yeah, check me out. It's been a pleasure.
Alrighty.
But I just don't feel forever.